Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to the Spec Racer Fords Weekend Warriors presented by Race Voice. We are here live from Homestead Miami Speedway here on Apex Racing TV. I am Austin. I'm joined by Charles Bushell with Jonathan Grabowski in the production booth. And Charles, we're at Homestead. We're on the Roval of Homestead, the A version, so we will have the first and second turns avoided to have one of the most unique Rovals out there. And it's going to be a lot of fun, especially in these Spec Racer Fords. How are you feeling about today?
Oh man, I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know a lot about the Spec Racer, but obviously Homestead is a great track, and this is I love the Roval layout. Anytime you can go to an oval track and then run the infield for a while, it's going to be a fun race.
Yes, running the oval is the Roval, as some will say this, but this is a really weird Roval because you don't actually, in this layout, you don't touch the banking at all. They do have a B layout where you do, but this is the more technical Roval because there's a lot of hard braking zones, multiple hairpins in here. The opening sector is one of my favorite opening sectors of a Roval, one of the most unique. It's very fast entry, and then it's a very tight, slow speed section before going onto a little switchback type straightaways before getting back onto the back straightaway, as we are looking right now with Yorkmani. And then heading into sector 3, you fly it in there. It's kind of like a mirror turn 1, but it's a lot more easier to get right. Then it's a very awkward left-hander before a right-left chicane before getting back onto the oval. And that transition, it's very aggressive, as you can see right there. We might see a little bit of an issue with a few of the drivers getting a little bit too ambitious off that exit, and we might see a little bit of a spin or two. Also, the pit lane entry is in that sector as well, so that could cause a little bit of a kerfuffle up there.
Yeah, I can see, as you were talking about it, there was actually somebody with a nice demonstration of jumping up onto the banking. And yeah, so these cars look like they're going to have a little bit of an issue with trying to get back up onto that bank straightaway. So yeah, I'm going to be looking, like I said, it's going to be a very interesting race. I know these guys have probably put in quite a bit of practice just trying to get comfortable with the car and the track combination. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
I'm excited to see what these drivers do. A big point of contention, one of the overtaking spots is this hairpin right now, as Megan Overstreet is showing us. We saw a few of the cars having a spin in here in practice, so that was one of the corners that I was a little bit worried to see a few of the cars spinning. I was not expecting cars to lose control right there. They're just probably carrying too much speed onto that inside line, but it's very easy to lose the control of the car, especially underneath the brakes. I was expecting to see that into turn 1 and turn 2, but the hairpin, probably the biggest opportunity for an overtake, especially right here as well, as we're looking at Jason Green heading through that right-hander double right-hand turn, getting onto the, I would say, the third straightaway. This layout has about 4 straightaways. You got the front straightaway, you got the first straightaway and the infield, then you got the second straightaway, you got the back straightaway, and that's it. So I would say we have 4 straightaways here. They both pretty much run the exact same distance as well. Drafting is going to be important.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that this is going to be one of those that you're going to try and just tuck up behind, and then try and make late lunges into the corner, which obviously is going to require some good technique from all the drivers to make that happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier heading into some corners than the others. Turn 1, it's a very flat out corner, and it's a very tight braking zone heading into turn 2 because it kind of sneaks up on you. This braking zone into coming off the back straightaway, heading into that corner, it's kind of like turn 1. It's a lot easier to do, so we're going to be seeing some moves heading into there. The biggest, though, is on that third straightaway before you head on to the back straightaway. That hairpin, that is where we're going to be seeing a lot of our moves, and it's going to be very, very fun for us up here in the booth heading into that corner, because that corner is going to set you up for a good pit stop or not, because it kind of leads you into it. In the other layout, that leads into the giant banked oval part, which also makes that a key corner. And that corner is kind of weird because there's no real braking marker on where you need to brake, so it's all on instinct.
Yeah, that's going to be that sounds like a recipe for trouble. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting corner to keep an eye on.
If you're an agent of chaos, you'll love this place. Like me.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is kind of new to this. Is that the outside line pit lane entry that we saw a couple of the shots?
Yes. Now, the outside line pit lane is, we're going to let's ride on board of Stevie Ray. Thank you, Stevie Ray, driving that Ray ESports Spec Racer Ford race side of the track of turn 1. And it might cause just a little bit of struggle for drivers heading into turn 1 and getting a little bit ambitious on cutting that inside apex. Also, normal spec racer weekend warrior rules on exiting the final hairpin. You can see that white line. 2 wheels over that white line is the most that they will ever allow exiting onto the oval part of the track. But if you stay down there for too long, you will be penalized for that. And there goes Jason Green heading into the pit lane. But yeah, this track is pretty quirky.
Yeah, it is a bit quirky, but obviously I think it's probably as much of this is one of those little used circuits, so I think it's been up on the IMSA calendar a couple of times. I don't think it got a lot of play, so it's probably not some that, unless you're heavy into the spec racing community, they run this a lot. I'm not really even sure.
It's sparsely used
Yeah.
by everybody. It's not just a spec racer 4 thing. This track is sparsely used.
So that obviously adds a little element of excitement to it, because if you go to a track that's world famous track, so like we'll say Watkins Glen or something like that, where it's everybody's driving it as much as they can drive it for that week, and the cars that they like. You get to a place like this and you don't really understand all the nuances of the corners, as we see somebody kind of pinging off the tire barrier there.
Yeah, somebody in the background really messed up that corner. Then we saw Overstreet. She got a little bit crazy coming off the final corner in the final minutes of qualifying right now. 1 minute left in qualifying for these drivers. And it's currently the Italian Marco Pinero sitting on provisional pole, just barely ahead of Dudu Castro. But yeah, this layout, the season, the track selection for this season, I would say this is one of the weirdest tracks. Now, it's not the only rollable. We do go back to a rollable. That's in week 8, the end of January. We're going back in time to 2008 to the Phoenix Raceway road course as well. And that rollable is also kind of in the same bag of being pretty weird, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a fun series. I'm going to enjoy it. If nothing else, I'm going to learn a little something along the way about these cars and what they're capable of.
They're so fun. They are very unique to drive, I would say. The brakes on these things, I would say, is the most difficult thing for a new driver to get used to on the iRacing series. Now, though most of the drivers have fixed that braking issue and they've got it down to a T where they don't have that anymore, and the racing here is so incredibly close. There's not a lot of downforce on these cars. It's all mechanical grip. Drafting is very important, and you can get a little bit rough with these things. It's like a closed, it's like a sports car single-seater.
Yeah.
It's a single-seater.
Kind of a hybrid.
Yes. It's single-seater, enclosed fenders, so you aren't at risk of destroying a lot of the car if you get a little side tappy action, but these things are still about the speed of a, I would say, a Skip Barber car.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
It's a good introductory series in real life as well. If you're looking to get into sports car racing and have nowhere to start, I know the Spec Racer Fords are used as a SCCA licensed test car where you can bring them out. I've done a few drives in this as well at MSR Houston. Thank you, everybody over there. Not an ad, just very cool place. As we can see, a demonstration of that pit entry by a few of these drivers. This is Daniel Wood heading through that final sector, that quick left, right, and then back onto the oval. Pop it up there. It's very aggressive, and if drivers have their car set up pretty low, they might be getting some damage. But qualifying has ended. Daniel Wood just finding a gap through the cones and then parking up safely. This is Fabio parking up right now. But yeah, qualifying's ending right now. Any unique, anybody standing out for you?
No, I don't see anybody standing out. Obviously, Pinero looks like he's got some really good pace, followed by Castro. But, it's, one lap pace is not the same as race pace, so we'll see how all this shakes out.
Yeah, I've been watching Jorg Mani out there today. He was the first one in the practice session, actually. That's how early I show up to the practice session, because I kind of like seeing the drivers learn how they get used to the track. Megan Overstreet, she was in there as well, but everybody is gritting up and getting ready to go. Marco Pinero is your pole sitter here today for Alex Cart Racing Raptor, ahead of Dudu Castro. Jorg Mani in third, followed by Kane Lasky. Yanji Lin and Todd Hansen in sixth place. Currently your top spotted Spec 2 driver, and I believe he is confirmed for Spec 2. Is he now, Jacob? Yeah, Todd Hansen. Confirmed Spec 2? Yes, he is your top Spec 2 driver, miles ahead of everybody else. Then there's Megan Overstreet. She starts in 7th place with Jason Green in 8th. Steven Ellison in 9th, and Jesus Rodriguez in 10th, followed by Andrea Favini and Sergio Dorelli in 12th. Starting 13th, your second place Masters driver is Chris Murakami, followed by Flavio Andalo. Your second place Spec 2 driver Fabio Scali starts in 15th, followed by Michael Nelson, Adam Bradshaw, Tom Gradwell, Matthias Weiger, and Andrew Love. They're followed by Wayne Palmer, Bradford Gold, Jim Brewster, and Daniel Wood in 24th place. Behind them is Ian Gibson, Joshua Justice, Kurt Newens, Paul Jackson, Chris Montgomery, and Stevie Ray, followed by Brad Cathcart, Jeff Cantor, Charlie Vaccaro, Gary Woodbolt, David Swig, and Brian Short in 36th place. Our final spots are occupied by Philip Berry and Paul Gooden in 37th and 38th. Campbell and Bately have not put in a valid qualifying lap or put in any qualifying lap. They are currently registered for 39th and 40 at the end of our grid if they do show up. But as the grid rolls off, it's time to just get ready and enjoy the spectacle here at Homestead Miami Speedway as our formation lap is starting. And this is the best time for these drivers to get acquainted with the track and get acquainted with the drivers all around you, because that run into turn one, as you can see, pretty tight.
Yeah, it does look tight. So it's going to be interesting this first lap as they get up to speed. Who's going to take opportunities to move up? Who's going to play it safe, and who's going to, I guess, fail miserably? Which seems like there's always one of those. Unfortunate, but there it is.
The weird part about this track, the opening sector is probably the tightest part of the track. The ending sectors of Sector 2 and Sector 3 gets actually pretty wide. So I would say we might see a few of these drivers just take it safe and then get more aggressive throughout the lap instead of, going aggressive into the start of the lap and then kind of calming down. It might be a little bit reverse thing because, as you can see through this turn, it's pretty wide. It's just the opening of this track with that weird braking zone. I think it's just going to be a big stack up operation at the front. Front of the pack top 10 might not have an issue, but 10 back down, it might get into a full-on accordion effect with a few of these drivers. I will not be surprised if we see just drivers just almost parking it at times.
Right, yeah. So for us newbies to this, can you explain the difference between Spec 1, Spec 2?
It's by iRating. Spec 1 is iRating 3,000 and above. Spec 2 is 3,000 and down. And then you'll see the yellow on a few of our drivers. Those are our Masters class, and that is drivers over a certain age.
Oh, the old guys like me. Cool. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
55 plus, no matter if iRating. So you could be 500, be a Masters, as long as you're 55 plus.
I'm not quite to that yet, but I'm getting closer.
Well, in a few seasons, we'll be seeing you in the Masters class. Masters class commentator right here. But Pace Car is in the pit lane. It's going to be taking the NASCAR entry, which these drivers cannot use right now. There it goes into the pit lane, taking out a few cones, but we are on to the front straightaway here at Homestead Miami Speedway in the restart zones. We go. That's Elson. Elson, I saw him put a big pressure on Overstreet heading into turn one. He's done it again, overtaking Jason Green onto that back straight. What a start by Steven Elson.
Yeah, that was a great start, and it was good avoidance by all the rest of the racers after one went through the crash. Megan did a good job to get the car stopped when she got back to the concrete, and everybody else did a good job of just taking it and not making it worse than it was.
I don't think Megan actually went onto the grass. She was just flirting with the grass right there because she was stuck on the outside because Elson really went down to the inside right there. But Elson, he's under pressure right now. He had a bad exit heading up onto the oval section. He got a big hit of Overseer and now down to the inside. Here comes Green on Elson, diving it down to the inside. And here comes Megan Overstreet. Overstreet looks down to the inside. She backs it off early heading into turn two. And that turn two is the tricky turn because you don't really expect it to be that hard of a braking zone because it kind of just so sudden, but because you have that much speed, it's one of the hardest braking zones out there. Overstreet, she really wanted to go for it. Now let's look down the field. This is the battle for 16th. This is Weiger chasing down Bradshaw up ahead of him in that 929. And Matthias looks down the inside, just selling a little bit of a fake right there, and Bradshaw was not buying any of that fake right now, but he is really close to make that move heading into the hairpin. But a great start so far for Matthias ahead of him. Jim Brewster at the top of this three-car pack, up 8 spots. And here comes Matthias. He's setting him up. He's on the inside. Big set by the 929. Oversend to defend it. We got a big stack of multiple car crash at the hairpin.
Yeah, looks like somebody just got inside too deep and collected a few other cars in the process.
That was totally separate from our fight right now. it was Andrea Favini that had that issue. And it kind of looks like, yeah, there is Favini versus Chris Murakami on the inside. And, oh, just a little bit of a tap. The car drifted right. They got into each other right there. And then that incident got collected with this incident, and a giant parking lot popped up right there, as some might say. But Ian Gibson was just kept it clean. The 893 is still going.
Yeah, it's like these cars can take a little bit of a beating.
Yeah.
And keep going. So yeah, that's going to be cool to see.
It's kind of an intro touring car, except that these are rear-wheel drive. Up ahead of him is Michael Nelson, who is also kind of mixed up with that fight all around him. He's at the back of that overtaking opportunity right there. And with both those cars kind of making contact, the outbraking that the 923 did around the outside, the attempted around the outside braking, which was ooh, that's a unique line. A little bit of rallycross action by Fabio. As we go, ooh, another car wants to look down the inside. That's the 888. Now he's under pressure by Scally. Big opportunity for the 38 on the 888, but it's not going to happen. The 888 of Philip Berry stays ahead of Aiden Campbell as they're all trying to chase down Fabio up ahead of him. But crazy fight happening all the way up and down the field as, well, Stevie Ray, he's going to have a lot of action in his rearview mirror and off the reflection of that very shiny Spec Racer, as we have a move for the lead. Castro and Panero swap spots. We're going to have a replay pop up right now and ask and you shall receive. And this is what happened. This kind of weird exit. It looks like Marco Panero had a little bit of a bad exit heading out there. You can see that draft has pulled Duducaster in there down to the inside, and it kind of looks very routine when you look at it right there. But Duducastro, you're now leader here at Homestead Miami Speedway, and that final turn already coming into play with our leaders, and some drivers is taking it as aggressively as they can. York Bonnie, your Masters leader, and Todd Hansen are mixed up in there right now. Let's ride on board the Red Lobster of York Bonnie. Heading out of that hairpin in Panero's draft. He saw what happened to Panero last time. Is going to be a little bit more cautious heading into that final turn, heading into final NASCAR turn 4 as they get onto the brakes right here. It's a very weird part of the track because you kind of want to go make any moves, but right here, watch this transition. Bam! You saw the steering rack just immediately shoot left. You get there and the car's not feeling with you, you're definitely going to be losing control. Monty not going to be playing any games heading into this corner, but you see Panero up ahead of him. He's already just on that bumper of Duducastro heading into turn 2. Such a dangerous corner. Like you see all the top 6 nose to bumper with each other. This is a beautiful fight for the lead of the race here. But it's the opening stages of the race. We still have pit stops to go, and then we're going to be seeing this race go into overtime craziness, as some might say.
Yeah, for sure. Now we got the 888 going into the pits.
Yeah, we got multiple cars heading in the pits. Stevie Ray's in the pits. Philip Berry, Paul Gooden, and David Swig all in the pit lane. They all went into the pits on this lap. Stevie Ray, I know he likes to go into the pits as early as possible. If he went to the pits as early as possible, I think this is way too early. So this might be an incident with Stevie Ray. And Jonathan being the MVP right here will show us there. There's Stevie Ray up ahead of him. This is Paul Gooden, who is now in the pits as well. There's smoke up ahead. Paul Gooden, whoa! Carried a lot of speed right there. Bang into the 888. Stevie Ray was kind of separate from that incident, and I don't think Stevie Ray was in that incident. And he just decided, you know what, I'm going into the pits on my own. Because he's back out there.
Yeah, just taking an early pit stop, topping off the tank, maybe?
Actually, no. Stevie Ray is... Has he disconnected? Stevie Ray has manually disconnected from the race.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's unfortunate. Fabio Scali has gone into the pit lane. Total drivers that have gone into the pit lane is 5. As we are still looking at our leading train, Dudu Castro seems to be pulling out an advantage on the opening sectors of the track. Let's take a look at our fight for 7th place. Looking at Megan Overstreet chasing down Jason Green up ahead of her. She had a very rough start, fell down 2 spots, and she's been trying to regain those spots ever since heading into the hairpin.
Yeah, so we got to build the draft train for him in here. Looks like Castro wants to try and stretch out the advantage, but he gets on one of those straightaways and just kind of pulls everybody right along with him.
Yeah, making overtaking here very hard to do. It's not as aggressive as it is with the Format B with the turns 3 and 4 on the oval. So it's going to be a very big issue for a lot of these drivers to try to find an overtake. I'm going to get out there right now and put on my strategist hat. We might see drivers attempt an undercut here. Speaking of an undercut, Daniel Wood's in the pit lane.
Yeah,
We saw that thing for that shot. Daniel Wood obviously listening to the broadcast.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think an undercut with a draft like this, I think an undercut may be a good thing. You can just get to the back of the pack and
Put
just get
laps.
towed along. And yeah, that might be a good strategy.
If you know you're faster than the car leading the train and nobody can get past it, you put down constant laps. You put down a good in lap, you put down a good out lap, then you just keep on putting the laps until everybody else pits. You're going to slowly see your position increase. Because I've done it in touring cars. When we came here with the touring cars, I went to the pits about 15 laps ahead of the leader. We were in a 5-car fight for the lead. I went from 5th place all the way to the lead at the end of the race. I didn't win that race, but that was for a different thing, but I ended up at the end of the pit stop cycle leading the race. Now, you must also remember you need to have enough fuel to finish. Big send under pressure by Dorelli. Dorelli tried to send it, couldn't keep the speed. Overstreet held it around the outside. Very nice defending. Jason Green is going very slow. Green, I think, has a slowdown up ahead of him. Overstreet's up into 8th. Yeah, Jason Green had a slowdown. He dropped to the back of that pack. Everything getting very spicy right now. And I think but Overstreet's overshot the corner, and she's in the grass and now falling down 1. And I think there's going to be 2 and 3 spots. Jason Green at the back of Overstreet. Is he going to get the draft to send it on to her right now? But no. Overstreet fell down to 10th place after a wonderful defense. Unfortunately, overshot the corner, caught the grass just a little bit, and fell down 2 more spots. Such an easy mistake to do, and I think that was the 76 of Jesus Rodriguez tapping the wall.
He looks like he did get a little over rotation there and kind of a little tank slapper, as they like to call it.
Just putting a little pink signature on the wall. Oh, and that's the 86 off the track ahead of Overstreet and the gang, but none of them could get down to the inside. Now they get down to the inside. That's Rodriguez and Dorelli side by side with each other and sneaking his way through there. Jesus Rodriguez, and here comes Megan Overstreet as well, sneaking her way through there in the draft of Jesus Rodriguez. They're going to go side by side once again, heading into the braking zone. And heading into this hard right-hander. Can Overstreet hold it around the outside and make that move once again, or will it be Sergio Dorelli? It's going to be Overstreet round the outside. They tap, bang wheels. They're still banging wheels. They are riding on each other, heading into this hairpin. And now it is Sergio Dorelli around the outside. Can he do what Overstreet did to him? No, he can't. Overstreet down to the inside, keeps it on the track, and is back into 9th place ahead of Dorelli. But Dorelli is giving her a little bit of a bump draft on the back straightaway, heading into that final sector. Too far away, well, too similar of a speed to send it into that final quarter, but Overstreet making the work right there, taking advantage of other people's mistakes. Just what happened to her. Cars in front of her, catch the grass. You're never out of it until you're out of it. around here.
Absolutely, and that was a great bit of driving on the outside. She just was in a position that
Also to show on how difficult that pit entrance is, some of these drivers hopefully did practice for their pit entry. I saw York Monty practicing for that in practice as well, but that pit entry, you might see a very rare accident in the pit entry. It's kind of sudden. There is a turn in there, and you do have to slam on the brakes, but we're riding on board of Kane Lasky, the 09, sitting in 4th place behind the Red Lobster of York Monty. Pinero and Castro exiting off of the oval and jumping all over that curb, pretty much being the racing line for all these drivers, just riding on all these curbs. Not that inside curb. There's a giant tire wall right there that will definitely end your day.
That was a great shot. You can see how rough that is to jump up on the banking.
There is Jason Green into the pit lane. Much smoother right now, but drivers definitely taking into account, hey, I can't pass here. I'm going to have to earn my spots here. Why not just put down some consecutive laps in the, in clean air and just try to pull away from everybody else. This is Joshua Justice and Kurt Newens right now in the fight for what will be 18th place. Justice just falling behind the Masters driver right now. You can see all the tire marks being put down, entering turn 2, a very hard turn on all these drivers. And then they head into the slowest section on the track, one of the slowest corners before getting onto the throttle. It's actually a very good cambered corner. Turn 4 is. It's a downhill banked right-hander, so you can put a lot of power and aggression heading into that corner. And if you're really set up behind somebody else, give you a good line heading into that secondary straightaway and down to the inside for that double right-hander. But also that double right-hander, it's very tight, and it kind of tapers off at the end. You might not see a good opportunity down to the inside, but like we saw with Overstreet, you can hold it around the outside very well heading into that corner. You could go very deep on the brakes there, as this is Yanshi Lin at the back of this train of our leaders, kind of falling away. He's joined with Todd Hansen as well. Hansen, well, pretty much 10 spots ahead of Palmer, his next competition, if you're just counting the Spec 2 drivers.
Yeah, it's he's doing a good job there. As you can see, there's not really much. There's a little opening in between the leading cars, but you know, as you're watching when they get on the straights, the draft just brings them 2 or 3 tenths closer together every single time. So this is going to be one of those races that may end up going down to the very last lap.
Which is pretty much their tradition here with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. The amount of times that we have finished nose to tail heading towards a line, it's too much to count. We can probably count on how many times on a hand that we've had races not end like that. So this series is pretty much a walking highlight factory. And I love it. And oh, contact!
Ooh.
Heading into the braking zone, that was Dorelli and Rodriguez, and Overstreet. Rodriguez missed the braking early, got into the back of Overstreet, and then Dorelli got into the back of Rodriguez, and now they're kind of both damaged, and Overstreet's pulled away from both of them. Rodriguez got the spot back from Dorelli, though. That might have been a, hey, sorry, I hit you, bro, and let them by.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell if somebody broke early or somebody broke late, but there was
like I said, that corner has no braking. It has no braking marker. It's so difficult to tell. Dorelli has gone into the pit lane, so I think Dorelli has big damage. His front nose did look a little bit scrunched up, so he's probably just heading into the pit lane right now to fix that, and just a strategy on the fly. We're 1 minute out from halfway, which is where most of these drivers will be heading into the pit lane, I suspect. But knowing our drivers up the front, they don't care about fuel saving. Well, one of them doesn't. It's Jorg Monty in third. He does not care about fuel saving. He's running that tank till it's dry. Then he goes into the pit lane. That's a strategy if you're at the front of everybody, but if you're kind of in the midfield, you're battling in a giant train, go for an undercut. It might work out for the best of you.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just good to have clean air so you can run your pace in your line without having to worry about anybody interfering, because you may be doing things a little differently. So the undercut is absolutely a good call. But yeah, you get up to the front and you're staying up front for as long as you absolutely can.
It's going to be very, very, very interesting to see on how these drivers tackle the strategy. I might suspect Kane Lasky or Yanshi Lin, somebody is facing backwards in the oval. Anyway, I just saw one car facing backwards. Wasn't sure what that was doing there. Not sure who that is, but Lasky or Lin or Hansen might go for that undercut opportunity. They're at the back of this group. They're kind of miles ahead of Elson in 7th place, so they aren't really risking a lot of things. It's just where are they going to exit the pits at is probably the bigger question. Because if you exit the pits and you're in a group, not clean air, it's not going to work out for you.
No, yeah, you need a couple fast laps when you get out, just to make sure that you maximize that undercut for everything that you can get. And you get behind a group that's battling for 15th to 20th, you're not going to work your way through there quickly.
I think it was Weiger has had an issue, as well as Cathcart. It was Weiger who was pointed the wrong way on the oval. Sir, that will get you really destroyed if this was the oval layout. I think this is just a case of, he's been disqualified. I think that might have been a case of a little bit too much mustard exiting that final sector. He's clipped the inside curb right there and probably shot off to the right instead of the left. Or something weird has happened and he's ended up over there. I don't know how you end up over there.
That'll be interesting to see. But, so obviously the driving backwards is another iRacing thing.
And driving on the part of the track that is not part of the track is also a big no-no.
Yes.
I do know from experience that on the oval portion of this track, the non-US open wheeler B car, as I have to legally call it now, layout, you could use the pit lane entry that those cars use on the NASCAR layout, and it won't count as an off track. And they kind of had to specify that in a league that I did that used the Formula B, the road course B layout, racing the Formula 3s. Some drivers were caught doing that. They had to make a special rule. And then iRacing made that a rule, so thank you, iRacing, for following in the footsteps of leagues and preventing exploits like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably a reason why we aren't racing the Formula B, because that opportunity is still there in these cars. Exiting that first sector, I think he went for a move onto turn 1 and 2, and that's what caused this gap to form.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously Monty's leading the class, but if you can get an overall podium.
Move for the overall lead. Up ahead, that is Pinero on Castro heading into the hairpin, right ahead of each other, side by side at the hairpin. And that's Pinero down to the inside and into the lead. But there is Castro on the outside. They're going to be side by side with each other, creating a giant air pocket for Monty to get into there. Almost a little strike on the wheels. They got the 888 lap car ahead of them, and bang into the exiting the hairpin. That is Castro off the track and damaged side by side, exiting the back straightaway, entering sector 3. Side by side is definitely not going to work right there, and that will be a big investigation after this race. But side by side exiting the back straightaway, this was just not leaving the space or anything. There's Castro on the outside, Pinero on the inside, and
yeah,
it's kind of just awkward because there's no turn-in marker right there. They're just kind of guessing with each other.
Yeah, it just looked like the inside car just kind of.
Oh, this might be a little bit weird because that's the 888 slow ahead of Pinero. Here comes Jorg Monty. Monty has got a good run. Monty looking on to the outside. He's alongside of him right now. He's side by side with him. Monty sending it into the brake zone, trying to hold it around the outside. Here comes Kane Lasky. The window is open for Kane Lasky. He's going down to the inside. Lasky is in second place.
Wow, great move. Took advantage of a car that just went wide. And jumped up into that P2, and now can go challenge for the lead here.
Oh boy, there's Monty the Lobster bringing it back on Lasky. He left the door open, and Kane left the door open, and Monty steps right through. And speaking of stepping right through, there's the 30 of Yanxi Lin. Lin was to step through that door as well. We got a great fight kicking off up here, and 2 weeks in a row, Pinero and Castro having an incident with each other. Last race that we covered here on Apex Racing TV at Lime Rock Park, they had an issue. And diving into the pits is Yanxi Lin. Like I said, I suspected he would be the first one out of this group to head into the pit lane and try that undercut.
Yeah, good call.
And Duda Castro joining him as well as Megan Overstreet. Multiple drivers heading into the pit lane. Right now, they're just waiting for the spark to light that fuse.
That's it. So now it's just get this pit done, get back out there, and run as hard as you can for the rest of the race.
Definitely. But now this fight for the lead is pretty spicy after that incident. This is with that exiting. They're exiting the pits right now, but with that undercut initiated by Yanxi Lin, there comes Yanxi Lin. He's got to watch out for that pit exit. You have to go for that inside yellow marked line to exit the pits. The blue cone is surprisingly missing from there. I think somebody might have stolen it.
Or it's been hit across the track 50 times already during this race.
Or it might be that, or it might just be that it's not really a official pit exit. It's just one that most of these drivers should follow. I haven't done a lot of pit exits here, but every time that I've done it, it's kind of just driver's agreement that, hey, just stay below the yellow line because that's directly into the pit exit, the racing line right there. It's kind of that accursed thing where the pit exit is on the racing line. If you're a fan of Southpaw Racer, you know why that is a very cursed option. Pocono. And yeah, it's not good.
So let's see. See who blinks in the rest of this group. Who's going to come in next? Obviously, Manny. You've already talked about him. He's going to stay out for absolutely as long as he can.
I'm going to say the first one to blink will be Lasky, as these two head into the pits in unison. And just look at how difficult that pit entry is. It's very narrow, very tight.
Tough.
You got a chicane in there. You got about the width of a golf cart to deal with. This is the fight right now for third place. That is Hansen behind Lasky. Hansen getting in there as well as, is that the, what is that behind them? Is that Rodriguez? No, behind Hansen. Now, who's behind Hansen? Oh, okay, that is a lapped car. That's Paul Jackson. Okay, I thought that was, I was surprised that would have been Rodriguez because I don't think that would have been, uh-oh, Dorelli is off. Jonathan is on the hunt for the Dorelli incident. And speaking of the Dorelli incident, here's what happened to Sergio. This is heading into turn 1 and 2, and I think this is going to be just a little bit of an overcook of the brake. Oh, he's wiggling already in there, caught the grass. And we got a incident, but that is Dorelli out of the race. And this is our leaders. All 4 of them headed to the pit lane. All of them except so. This is a gamble if you are Marco Pinero, stopping for that short with 10 minutes left. Does he have enough fuel for the end?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to find out. Obviously, he's a couple seconds shorter than the rest of the group that came in.
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Yeah, and so you wonder, okay, did he manage to save a little bit because he was running in second for the first part of the race? Was he managed to save some fuel during the first part of that so he could take a quicker pit stop.
Well, he was leading the race, exiting after that incident with Dudu Castro.
Right.
I don't think he saved enough fuel to even have that opportunity form in his mind. I think this might be just a little bit of a gamble that he just put. I think he bet all on red, and he's playing Russian roulette right now.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. And there's Pinero overtaking a lap car, but taking the lead of the race as he passes Kane Lasky. 4 seconds clear of Yanxi Lin, who pulled off that undercut, by the way. He pulled that off. It works for him because everybody else that Yanxi Lin is running with is behind him by nearly 6 seconds. So either everybody was just a little bit caught off guard with the pit entry. Either everybody else behind him was too long in the pit stops, or Pinero was so quick on the pits, he just underfilled car. But looking at everybody else, they were the quickest stops that I'm usually seeing. I'm seeing times in 12s, times in 13s, times in 18s and 17s. Yanxi Lin was times in 11. Megan Overstreet, she had a time in the 10, but the only driver in 9 is Sergio Dorelli, who has had an issue. And there is Yanxi Lin getting past a 9:33 laps car, but Lin in second place. You can see the pit stop times by all these drivers. 9 seconds is a stretch.
Yeah, that seems like it's too much of a stretch. But yeah, it was a great job by Lin. He did exactly what you would want to do on the undercut. Was he was able to come in, take his fuel, and get back out and really run some really solid lap times to get him up to a point to where now he's running P2.
Yeah, Lin is always famous for his fuel save antics. So this will be playing in a great deal for Yanxi Lin. We're going to have to be looking at these lap times now between Lin and Pinero. We know Pinero is quick. Lin is also quick as well. Their best times and their last times are pretty much identical of each other, just Pinero advantage by 1/10. It's going to be a decider if Pinero can keep this pace and keep this fuel use the same to keep that 9-second pit stop, to keep that win. 4.4 seconds is the gap right now. He's just got to keep his head down and keep everything consistent right now. We got we got 6 minutes remaining right here. The lap time of 1 minute 33 second average. That will be about 4 to 3 laps to go so far, depending on what time they come across the line.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to your last lap times, those guys, like you said, were a tenth apart. The 2 cars that were the fastest for that lap was Manny and Castro. They were 2 tenths quicker.
Well, speaking of 2/10s,
so,
this is 200ths right now. Manny and Castro going side by side. Castro down to the inside and up into 4th.
So it's going to be interesting to see if they can make up the ground on Lasky. It's a second and a half or something like that. That's what it looks like, almost 2 seconds. So we'll see if they can work together and maybe get up to the back up to the rest of the group.
And remember, Kane Lasky was the only car on that train that actually stayed out and did 1 lap. That 1 lap he did on his own, that clean air, really shows. He's ahead of Castro and Monty by 1.5 seconds. He was kind of stuck in there with them. When they all went into pits, he said, all right, I have a clean air advantage right now. I'm going to do 1 more lap. And for him right now in that 09 is really working out. Sitting in 3rd on the podium. He's just got to have to worry about Castro, who has had an issue, and his pit stop time, well, it was 4 seconds slower. It was 4 seconds slower, 1 second faster, but 5 seconds slower than everybody else with a 17.2 second pit stop. So kind of a muffed pit stop, but he's just being safe right there. Less than 5 minutes remain right now here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Our fight for the lead, 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, and that gap's starting to close up a bit because Lynn was about 7/10 faster the last lap. So if he keeps that up, he might be in a position to challenge for the win here.
He sees Pinero ahead of him. He's in shot. 4 minutes remain here, which will be perfect for him right now. They're crossing at 36:20 right now. So we're looking at more laps for Lynn to make that advantage. And if you see that, that is hard news. If you are Marco Pinero, does he have enough fuel? He has to be very conservative off the start. He lost another 3/10 that lap. Yanchi Lin is coming.
Yeah, and Lin needs to run quality pace here because he needs to tighten that gap up, because if Pinero's got a gap, he can maybe roll out of the throttle a little bit earlier and save a little bit of fuel. And so Lin needs to put some pressure on him.
Yeah, I'm expecting 2 more laps after this. Maybe 3. They put down some very fast laps. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And everybody else is running faster times than Pinero. Your top 5, Lin, Lassie, Castro, Mani, much faster. York Mani, the fastest car, and your top 5 about the last lap. So Pinero definitely underfueled that car, and he's probably worried on how much fuel that he has. 3.2 seconds now. He's behind a lap car, the 888s of Philip Berry up ahead of him, who I believe just got it out of the way. Yep, he has. But that will have given him just a little bit of a draft to save that fuel end. But listen to the throttle heading onto the oval. Does he lift off? Is he being a little bit more cautious right here? Is he lifting and coasting? Sounds very normal, but there's a big lift and coast heading into the braking zone right there. He's being very cautious heading into the brakes, trying to save as much fuel as he can, but keep that gap, which is still falling. Lin was 1/10 faster that last lap, so it wasn't as big as a gain as he wanted it to be. But with less than 2 minutes to go, we got 2 laps remaining right now.
Yeah, it's going to be tall order for Lin to get up there. Obviously, unless something happens and Pinero runs out of fuel.
Which is what we do not want, what Pinero does not want to see. What Lin wants to see is Pinero pull off to the side and underfuel. Because that, remember, 2 seconds faster on the pit stop than everybody else. It's a gamble. He's put it all on red, and the wheel is spinning right now. Does he have another lap to go? When it comes across the line, that's Kane Lasky under pressure by Dudu Castro. The fight for third. Castro right up on the bumper of Lasky. He's left Monty in the dust right behind him, but Castro right there with them, heading onto that back straightaway where he had that issue with Marco Pinero, who is 3.1 seconds ahead of Yanchi Lin, heading towards that white flag. 1 lap to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway for the first race of 2023 for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, presented by Race Voice. 1 lap to go. Pinero 3.2 seconds ahead. Does he have enough fuel coming to the line? We're going to find out. He's just got a couple more turns to go. 1 more lap for Marco Pinero. And Kane Lasky and Dudu Castro are off the track. They've been in an incident with each other.
Oh, wow.
Who had that on their Chaos Bingo cards today? Castro and Lasky having an issue. This is heading into turn 1, into turn 2. Early break by Kane Lasky. Castro looked down to the inside. He comes across the nose. Bang! Into the grass they go. And there is York Monty trying to overtake them both. He's overtaking Kane Lasky, but he's stuck behind Dudu Castro up ahead. And there is Kane Lasky under pressure by Megan Overstreet. She had a very quiet race. She dropped down 2 spots. She's back in 6th place, and she's actually up a spot now from where she started. And over to our leader right now, who is getting onto that back straightaway. 3.4 seconds. It's looking like it's Marco Pinero's race. He just has a couple more turns to fight through right now. He bet all on red here, and it looks like it's going to be landing on red for him right now, getting on to turn 4, down the front straightaway, taking the win here. It's Marco Pinero! And bang Big incident heading onto sector 3. That is Rodriguez in the wall. Overstreet, she's fallen down to 9. She's had an incident as well. Chaos filled last lap here in the fight for the top 10. Overstreet, she's going extremely slow. I think Overstreet, she's ran out of fuel. Megan Overstreet's empty.
Yep.
She's limping and crawling towards the line. Gets overtaken by Rodriguez of Favini. She's outside the top 10. Oh, no. She's going to inch along for 11th place. Well, I think this Rodriguez is catching up on a slow car of Overstreet. Yeah, there's Overstreet going slow. This is an overtake on the 56 of Elson. Overstreet just stuck on the inside. She's trying to give them room. And, well, it was just a overtake. And then next thing I know, there's an inside gate right there. And that just kind of caught Jesus Rodriguez off right there. That's a crazy incident. Very unlucky for Jesus Rodriguez. Overstreet, she was off the track on the inside, just trying to give the room. She definitely didn't get the gamble, but the gamble definitely paid off for Marco Pinero up there.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if she was already sputtering or if she was just really trying to roll out.
She was sputtering.
So
she was sputtering, definitely.
Yeah. So just tough luck. Obviously, I mean, her pit stop time was 10.8, so it's not like it was really out of.
It makes you appreciate Kath Cards, Andrew Love, Chris Murakami, Fabio Scali, Brian D. Short, Fabio Andalo, Andea Campbell, Paul Jackson, Jim Brewster in 27th and 28th. In 29th is Philip Berry, Jeff Kamer, Gary Woodbolt, David Swig, Charles McCarl, Sergio Dorelli, Paul Gooden, Adam Bradshaw, Chris Montgomery, Matthias Weiger, Stevie Ray, and Ken Bately did not take the start in 40th place. So 39 cars started, 39 cars finished. What a race to the line here at Homestead Miami Speedway. And Charles, you are joined by our Masters victor, York Bonney.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, York. Hey, great race. Obviously, this is, I'm new to this, but you were running up to the front. I think you ended up finishing 4th. So talk about your race a little bit.
It started actually quite well. I thought I'm going to be beaten on the start already, till I recognized, oops, we still have a rolling start, not a standing start. So that was actually good. And during the race, passing people was very difficult because everybody's about equal fast. Everybody breaks about on the same spot very late. It was very tricky to pass. And then, my usual pit stop again. My car did not fuel. I still don't know why. So until I realized that, 10 seconds were gone, and then I was in the back, and then I had to fuel save because I underfueled as well. So that's about it, I think.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was a very eventful pit stop then. So congratulations on your Masters class win. And is there anybody you want to thank?
Thanks a lot again to Apex Racing and Race Voice for sponsoring. It's always a pleasure to watch the race on Apex after the race. I always love to do that. And of course to say hi to everybody, to my fellow driver colleagues. It's always fun, it's always fair, and that's great racing like that.
All right, congratulations, York. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
That was York Bonney, and I'm joined by Dudu Castro, who's joined us in the booth. He finished 3rd place today. Dudu, you were fighting for the win, and then you and Pinero on the back straightaway making contact, entering Sector 3. How was racing around here in this kind of weird layout? How was racing in passing attempts here today?
Hi guys. It's tough. It looks like a simple track, but has a lot of tricky turns and tricky braking techniques. So it was a good race. I was expecting to be where I was. I knew Marco would have something else, and he did that on the pole. But then I was managing well the pace behind him. I was not trying to save too much fuel because he was fast, Then he made a mistake. I just passed it inside. And then we kept a few laps, keeping the pace. But then Jorg had an issue. And I really thought that Marco would let I do like a few laps by myself, or maybe he drafted me to just me and him. But he decided to put inside on the hairpin, and then we went side by side. And on that turn that I really don't know, at the end of the back straight, I think I closed too much. I think he left the car there too, but I think it was a race incident, nothing more than that. And then I fell to the middle of the pack. So, but I'm really sad because I just dove inside Kane Latsky, and I really need to say sorry for him. It was my mistake. I was gonna give him the position, but Jorg was between us. But it was okay. It was a good race.
A good race overall. Next week, we head to a classic Laguna Seca, a track that everybody knows, a lot familiar. How are you feeling about next week and the corkscrew?
Sir, it's not a track that I'm really good. I always have a little of, a little of trouble on the corkscrew and some other turns. It doesn't accept any mistake, because if you put your wheel on the sand, you're done. It's gonna be tough. I don't know. I never raced fast last, so let's see what happens.
All right. Well, it's going to be a week of practice for you before we head to the next track that will be in your favor. Hopefully, your favors change for next week, Dudu. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank?
Well, all the drivers, always they're amazing. Congrats to podium. And once again, say sorry for Kane. It's not what I like to happen during the race, and I thought he saw me inside, but he didn't. But it was my mistake. I hit his wheel. So that was it. Thank you, and of course, thank you guys.
And thank you for putting on a great show out there on track. Kane Last, Dudu Castro finishing third here today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Apex Racing TV for the first Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Fords presented by Race Voice here from Homestead, Miami Speedway, first race of 2023. Thank you all for joining us here on Apex Racing TV. I've been joined by Charles Boschel and Jonathan Grabowski in the production booth. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.